What up? What up? What up? Can y'all hear me? Can y'all hear me? Can y'all hear me?
Loud and clear, man.
We are officially back, ladies and gentlemen. We are officially back. It is the Spotlight Raiders talk. What is going on? I don't know if y'all heard the track, but shout out to Graphk Nation, aka he's a podcaster himself, and he made the song, and that's the intro to all the Raiders videos. So shout out to Graphic Raider for once a Raider, always a Raider. That's just what it is. But I got my guy Eli back with me. It's been a long time coming. How are you, brother? How are you?
Doing all right, man. Everyone's here, healthy in Philly. Going out a little bit more, being socially responsible, wearing my mask, staying safe, doing all that jazz. So, hopefully everything's all well on your end too.
Well, I had a lot going on, but I was able to get it done and able to officially get it right. But we're here and we're live. What's going on, All Aboard Raiders? If anybody have not subscribed to All Aboard Raiders, I would suggest that y'all subscribe to him as well. Hopefully, we can get him on the show next week. So, All Aboard Raiders, inbox me on Instagram so we could definitely hit you up so we can have you on the show next week if you are available. But I'm happy to talk about Raider stuff. Some news definitely been coming out. We're gonna talk about Cam Newton. We're gonna talk about some other stuff. Some cornerback duos, some safety duos in the AFC West. It's a lot of news that we have with the Raiders, and some other news in NFL as well. So you ready to get this started, man?
Let's do it.
All right, we gonna just go from top to bottom. Let me pull the notes up. All right, so we just going to go with the first topic of the day about the Cam Newton situation. We all know Cam Newton signed with the New England Patriots. We all know this by now. A lot of people saying that he got blackballed in some ways. It felt like his contract was not what it's supposed to be. He signed a 1-year deal. Before we get into the actual article, how you feel about the whole Cam Newton thing now that we do play him and possibly playing him in week 3? How do you feel about that?
I mean, Cam Newton, let's see if he gets healthy. That was the main issue. I think that's part of the reason why I think some people kind of stayed away for a little bit with Cam Newton. He hasn't performed at an MVP level since his 2015 season. And but on the inverse, it looks like the type of team that's going to turn him around, or the type of environment that he could turn his career around and find his step again, would probably be the Patriots. So it makes sense in my mind. This is the kind of thing that the Patriots and Bill Belichick do consistently. As we know, last year they took a flyer on AB, and before he got ousted again, he did perform well. So I think that unfortunately, I do think this is actually going to work out for them. Now, can he beat out their incumbent potential starter? I don't know, but he had tools 5 years ago. Let's see if he can bring them back.
Awesome. Yeah, but my thing is this, not worried about Cam. Hey, Presidential Trill, what's going on? Shawshank Raider for live from Virginia. But we'll definitely get on that. We're going to talk about it either. We're going to talk about it as well, because according to JustBlowBaby.com, saying Las Vegas Raiders could face a healthy Cam Newton by week 3. So, saying that the Las Vegas Raiders will hit the road in week 3 against the New England Patriots, knowing that we was going to try to go for Tom Brady to come to Las Vegas, but that never went through, which I'm kind of happy that it didn't. He is with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as we speak. But, ahead of, I still think we can still win this game against Cam Newton, in my personal opinion. They say if he's healthy, that the Raiders will have a completely different game plan for the Patriots in week 3, as Newton gets the job done with his arm and his legs. Their young defense is going to get tested early in 2020. As of now, after facing Cam Newton's old team, Carolina, in week 1, they'll face Drew Brees, Patrick Mahomes, Cam Newton, and Tom Brady in a 5-game span for the Raiders. But of course, if he's not healthy enough, I think they gonna put Stidham in for New England. But I think they did the right thing giving him a 1 year contract. That just because we just don't know his status, he haven't played in a whole full year. So you know, absolutely, we definitely get that thing rolling. But I still feel like even with Cam Newton in the lineup, I still think we could beat the Patriots.
I agree, and again, I don't. I think that he's lost a little bit of the juice that made him so great 5 years ago. I mean, again, that was 5 years ago. You got to think that a physical, wonder like he was 5 years later, he doesn't have the same type of speed. He doesn't have the same type of kind of get up and explosiveness to make the difference that he did back then. But that being said, I still think that he, with a well-coached team and a good Bill Belichick defense, he could be one of those quarterbacks that kind of just ekes it out and makes them a harder team to defend. As the article said, there's you're going to have to defend them a little bit differently as it were, because Cam Newton can move the ball with his legs if he's healthy. So I agree, though. I'm not really worried about Cam Newton. He doesn't scare me all that much. He might scare me a little bit more than Stidham does, but I'm not really too worried about it. I don't think that it makes this a, oh my God, kind of moment like Tom Brady kind of does and raises the profile of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And Watts Raider, I see your email address. I'll definitely hit you up, friend.
Yes, if you definitely want a shirt from Eli, make sure y'all put your emails in the comments or hit him up on Twitter. We'll let him know about getting his social medias as well. But yeah, I'm not too concerned with Cam Newton. I don't know what he's going to bring, in my personal opinion. I just feel like he's finally on a football team after all this time through free agency, and now he's with the Patriots, which I predicted that he would go to the Patriots, because right now, out of them and the Chargers getting Justin Herbert in the draft, that was the only place that really Cam Newton could have went, and that could have fit best for me, in my personal opinion. So I'm not really too concerned, knowing that they like a lot of people say that the Patriots don't have much weapons for Cam Newton, knowing they do have Julian Edelman, which is probably the only weapon, but James White out of the backfield as well. But I'm not really too concerned outside of that. I'm really more concerned about I think their defense is still pretty good. But that would be my only concern is their defense against our offense. But our defense against their offense, I think we could get the upper hand with that.
I still think that it's going to be it's going to be a tough game even before they had Cam Newton. I don't think that he really makes it that much of a difference, but if he can bring, I remember reading somewhere online that, they were talking about now it's blanking on me. Kurt Warner. Kurt Warner said something similar, where 2 years after he won the MVP, that's when he left St. Louis and he kind of resurrected his career, brought the Arizona Cardinals to the Super Bowl. Now, if something like that happened, I wouldn't be blown away with Cam Newton. Do I think it's going to happen? I don't think so, but it's always possible. I mean, the guy was a dynamic player for quite a few years, but also remember, I mean, a lot of what made Tom Brady, such a great fit for Bill Belichick is he didn't make a ton of mistakes. He ran that offense pretty efficiently. And if you look at Tom Brady's numbers over the years, and you look at Cam Newton's numbers, their interception to touchdown ratio percentage, I think in his MVP year, I think his lowest touchdown percentage to interception ratio was 2% for Cam Newton. Tom Brady never even hit that number in his I don't think in his worst year, right? So they're definitely two different quarterbacks. But Bill Belichick can win with anybody. So if he can play at the top of his game, he's going to make the Patriots better. How much better, I'm not sure. We'll just have to find out week 3.
Yeah, we'll just have to find out week 3, and I'm excited for it. I'm excited for it and ready to get things going and get this thing up and rolling with the Raiders, man, playing Patriots at week 3. Knowing it's going to be a real tough kind of stretch for us the first 5 games, but I think we could hold on to it. I think we could do what we could do. It comes down to play calling, like like Watts Raider said, it comes down to play calling and it comes down to execution. That's going to be a big factor for us as well, is execution. So let's get into the next topic here. Usually the Raiders are doing a countdown to the Raiders season. So the countdown is right now we're at the number 76 countdown. So it's 76 days left to actually kick off. And the countdown to 2020 is the best Raiders players to wear a number every single day. So right now we're 76 days into the opening game of 2020, and we start the countdown the best Raider players to wear every jersey number. So today we focus on number 76. And right now, it says with the season with a few months away, we take a look at the best players to wear the jersey of the number of days left before the opener on September 13th, 2020 against the Carolina Panthers. That game would kick off in the new era of Raiders football. So we continue our series with number 76, and this year's the Raiders selected offensive guard John Simpson, who was chosen to wear number 76 jersey. But we wrote in May that the numbers were announced that Simpson has some massive shoes to fill when it comes to wearing number 76. The former Clemson Tiger, likely to start his rookie year, it looked like he will be in the mix as well with that. But they said before we jump to the obvious selection of that, we given this number 76 day to Robert Gallery. Gallery was recently listed one of the worst draft picks in the Raiders' history, that we had to do most of the draft position than anything else. On paper, Gallery looked like he could be an elite left tackle prospect and had all the makings to be a generational player, but being stuck on some bad teams is not just good enough. They made a serviceable offensive guard at best. But the right now they making it seem like right now that the problem is you don't take a serviceable offensive guard second overall, even if they ended up playing most of the 100 games for your team.
Yeah.
Gallery is a victim of his own hype and will not get any type of, he still had a long career, but I don't know why the Raiders picked him at number 76 for, knowing that 76 days left to countdown. How do you feel about this?
Well, are you sure they picked 76 as Robert Gallery? Because didn't they pick, if you scroll down a little bit, I'm pretty sure they picked Steve Wisniewski at 76. Where is this? If you scroll down further.
Yes, it was Steve Wisniewski. Yes, it was Steve Wisniewski.
I
do apologize for that. So I know I know that's one of your favorite.
Well, no, I mean, I honestly was like, wait a minute. They definitely didn't give it to Robert Gallery.
I thought they gave it to Robert Gallery, but they did give it to Steve. They did give it to him as well. But how you feel about, they talked about Robert Gallery. They did talk about John Simpson. And now they talk about the legend, the myth himself, Steve Wisniewski, knowing that's one of your favorite offensive linemen in your era. How you feel about them picking him for number 76 for today?
Well, it's a no-brainer. I think we talked about, when the rookies picked their number, who was the best number that had those, that wore the same digits. And Steve Wisniewski is one of the great all-time Raiders. He was named the Mount Rushmore of offensive linemen, the all-time offensive team for the Raiders all time. He was nasty. He was great. He was an all-pro multiple times, maybe 90s all-decade team. So in my mind, nobody else would be able to get that for sure.
So Raider Nation in the comments, how do y'all feel about that? Cam gonna show up, watch, okay.
But honestly, and Watch Raider, to your point, we certainly could have picked a lot of different players. I don't fault the Raiders at all for picking Robert Gallery. He was, again, supposed to be a just no-miss candidate as a right tackle, or as a left tackle, I'm sorry. He was supposed to be a total plug-and-play for the next 10 years, starting left tackle day one, and he just wasn't that. And it wasn't just the Raiders that thought that was the case. Everybody had number 2 pick, Oakland Raiders, Robert Gallery. So, yeah, it's a shame that happened, but, what are you going to do?
Yeah, so I mean, just to let y'all know that I'll if I don't do a live stream talking about it, I will be doing videos of the countdown. So tomorrow will be number 75. So it'll be 75 days. I will be going through each and every one until kickoff. If I don't do the live stream of it, I will be doing videos of that as well. But we did want to get that out the way as well. So they'll be doing that every single day, y'all. Every single day. So make sure y'all definitely keep a lookout for that. So
I've been following along with them. I don't so far I haven't seen any any picks that would really jump out at me as interesting or head scratching at all. I was, especially some of the ones like 89, like number 89, you didn't really have a lot to pick from. 85 was another one, ended up being Doki Williams from the 80s. So there was a couple numbers where not a lot of players that really made a big difference were wearing them. So it was a toss up, but I haven't really disagreed with any of the numbers so far.
and make sure y'all come. Make sure y'all subscribe to our channel, man. Make sure y'all subscribe to the channel Spotlight Raiders Talk. Make sure y'all following us on Twitter at Spotlight Raiders Talk and on Instagram as well. So we're going to get into the next topic that we do have here. So the next one that we do have is the Las Vegas Raiders go defense early in the 7th round 2021 mock draft. I really wanted to talk about this because I know they wanted to go defense as well. For some reason, I don't know what happened. I just had it up. Oh, there it go. Okay. So they wanted to go early in the mock draft, and I was kind of surprised that they wanted to do that because I know we did a lot of defense in this past draft, and we did offense in that 3rd round, which was kind of back to back to back. But it is early and it's truly predict where the chips may fall for the Las Vegas Raiders in 2020, as the expectations will challenge for a playoff spot. But General Manager Mike Mayock has done some tremendous job during previous NFL drafts, building this roster the right way. And as they lead, as we head to Las Vegas, the next step is only forward for us. So we're going to look at the 2020 NFL draft just to see just an early mock as of right now. So right now they say at number 15 that we might be getting Patrick Jones. Patrick Jones is from the Pittsburgh Panthers, which is invested a top 5 pick in 2019 in it. The defensive end Cleveland Farrell from Clemson is definitely started to play better down the stretch. Another 2019 rookie, a 4th round pick, Max Crosby, led the league in sacks, made in a serious push for Defensive Rookie of the Year honors. This offseason, the Raiders are going to add a free agent acquisition in Carl Nassib, which had at least 6 sacks in each of the past 2 seasons. But me personally, I would assume that the Raiders would pass on the edge rusher in 2021. But Patrick Jones II from Pittsburgh is a game changer in a superb blend of power and speed. He's 6'5", he's 260 pounds, defensive end, and he was in the ACC with his size and speed. He came with 11.5 tackles, 8.5 sacks, 4 forced fumbles in 2019. It will look to be even bigger force in 2020. But if he's available at the pick, it would be no brainer because next year we would have the number 15 overall pick. How would you think about getting an edge rusher again in next year's draft?
Well, you certainly can't have enough guys to rush the quarterback. I think we've all kind of come to the conclusion that this is, at the very least, a make it or break it year for Arden Key with the Raiders. If he doesn't make it with the Raiders this year, or even makes the team, they're definitely going to be looking at somebody to fill in as a situational pass rusher and get some more pressure on passing downs. Even if Cleveland Farrell improves his numbers and Max Crosby continues to play at a high level, they're going to need multiple backups and some more guys to rush the passer there. So I wouldn't say no to a defensive end. So let's just say that. But the thing is, let's say, we go into this year, we finish this year, and all of a sudden we're looking at Jonathan Abram, and he just really doesn't seem like he's performed, or maybe he's not the type of player we thought of. Or we look at, Mullen kind of has regressed. And on top of that, Arnett really doesn't look like a superstar, number one cornerback. Maybe he'll be a number two or a nickel, but he doesn't look like a stud either. Perhaps we got to go defensive back again in the first round of the draft. If one of the, if these wide receivers don't pan out, I mean, who really knows? But I could never say no to another pass rusher if they're going to make a difference on the defense at the back end, or another, again, playmaking safety. But defense probably is the way to go. Watts Raider, I don't know if they would go tackle just yet. I do think they think they're set on tackle for the offensive line for the next bunch of years. Interior offensive line would probably be somewhere they might look, but I don't think you're going to be picking, especially in the top 20, an offensive guard or a center. So they'd probably wait until later in the draft.
Yes, Shaw Shake Raider, because I'm looking at it from YouTube and not actual StreamYard. For some reason, my comments is not coming up on my end. But yes, we're talking about next year's draft. We are talking about next year's draft. I mean, I can't be mad if we want to go with another edge rusher, knowing that depth is what we need to mix with some veterans as well, just as what Watts Raider said. I definitely say we'll go with it. I mean, the depth chart is what it is. I mean, even when I play with, I don't know if y'all able to do it, but on Madden, you could download rosters. And I downloaded the rosters for this past year's draft team. And what we do it next year, we'll see how it pans out. So depth chart and depth at each position is definitely a big thing for us, because you just never know what's going to happen with injury. So the next pick that we have in 2021 draft is the number 47 pick, and it says Hamasa Nasiruddin from defensive back from Florida State. It says the secondary has been bleak spot for quite a time for the Raiders, but has done a nice job building up both cornerbacks and safety via NFL draft. There is some promise, especially with the recent investments of the picks. Hope that, like you said, Jonathan Abram comes back strong at safety after missing nearly the season due to injury. Even with the recent additions, it's still a very young and inexperienced group. With Nasruddin, he's 6'4", he's 212 pounds safety out of Florida State, who can have the same kind of impact next level as fellow Seminole Derwin James. So they compare him to Derwin James. They saying he's a tackling machine. He can line up all over the field, and he's around the point where he could definitely do mishaps in the secondary from day one. With Trayvon Mullen and Damon Arnett and Amik Robinson at corner, and Abram and Nasruddin at safety, this would be a young secondary to fill with alphas. I wouldn't mind this pick either, knowing that he's 6'4", and he's 212 pounds, knowing the fact that we really don't find corners at that size in the NFL these days. You usually see them 6'1", 6'2", or 5'11" at the smallest. Sometimes 5'9", depending on how physical you are. But 6'4", 212 for a safety, for a defensive back. We just got to see what he does in his final year with Florida State. Florida State really been on a downslope for college football. But I wouldn't mind this pick. I think it will definitely bring depth to it and bring some type of young talent to it, knowing we still have Lamarcus Joyner, knowing we still have Eric Harris, Jeff Heath. We definitely bring in, he reminds me a little bit of Carl Joseph in some ways, but I think he could be a better cover safety than Carl Joseph was. So what's your input on this?
Yeah, I mean, to be perfectly honest, I mean, this is really looking far ahead. We haven't even seen what our team looks like yet to even look to see what our needs are. I mean, kind of ditto at what I was saying with the defensive ends. It's always great to have dynamic and playmaking defensive backs, and the more the better to shut down opposing offenses. So, I mean, but again, and I think some people too, Watts Raider and somebody else, Melvin Barlow, are saying, it's a little early to even see what kind of things we need for this year, let alone next year for the draft, for sure.
Yeah, I could agree to that. But I mean, you just never know with the depth chart and what we have. But I'm just going to I'm not going to read all of these, But they do have Elijah Vera Tucker, the offensive guard from USC. He's a 6'4", 315-pound guard. Very versatile, despite the fact that he's a guard and can line up at tackle as well as needed. That would be the number 79th pick in the NFL draft. And then the Raiders will have the number 111th pick. Aubrey Solomon, defensive tackle from Tennessee. They saying that they kind of, let me see, that he was highly recruited out of high school, played for Michigan before transferring to Tennessee. He's solid first season with the Vols in 2020. He'll prove to be disruptive. Players in the SEC punching his ticket to a legitimate NFL prospect when he comes into NFL rolls around. They really don't have too much on him. They're going with Amir Rogers at the 175th pick, wide receiver from Clemson. Let me see what they say about him. They said the Raiders already have Hunter Renfrow, wide out from Clemson, onto the roster, so why not add another star from Dabo's Sweetie Cupboard? They often overlook the receiver is a talented player who is a final collegiate season. It can thrive in the Clemson's offense. The Tigers lost the star wideout Justin Ross due to a spinal correction surgery, so his stage set for Rodgers to have for Trevor Lawrence as the top options. And I think the last one here is Roger Clay is the 217th pick out of Western Kentucky. That would be a corner. It's not really too much they really say about him. And that would be the actual mock draft that they have for 2021. How you feel about these picks? It looked like they went more like defensive back more than anything, according to like what we see right now with the mock draft.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking at the roster going into this year, I don't disagree with the mock draft at all. But very much like some people are saying, it's a little early for that. But Watch Raider brings up a really good point. Watch Raider brings up a pretty good point here. Two good points actually that I was going to bring up. One is, what is the draft going to look like next year, with the potential that a lot of teams might not be playing college football at all, let alone any of the teams. It really depends on how the virus progresses throughout the country. I know that some leagues and some colleges are committing to a certain amount of games. Some teams aren't going to be doing that. So it's going to really play it's going to play its hand in some of these players and their ability to move up in the draft boards from last year's performance. And, very much like, hey, if, Cleveland Farrell doesn't improve, if Jonathan Abram doesn't improve, what happens if Derek Carr doesn't improve? If Derek Carr doesn't improve and, we're looking at worst case scenario, which is a mid-season replacement of Derek Carr with Mariota, or even let's just say they just missed the playoffs barely with Derek Carr playing similar to last year, maybe you're not going to move forward with him. What is your goal then, or what is your game plan moving forward to the 2021 season? If it's not Derek Carr, you're going to be looking for a quarterback in that draft, and more than likely looking probably, if things go really bad, maybe you're looking at Trevor Lawrence, but more than likely you're not looking at Trevor Lawrence. So that's going to be really interesting too, with seeing what quarterbacks are available for the Raiders to more or less invest in the future of their program or their franchise. Because if it goes bad and Derek Carr is not the answer, even if it goes well and Derek Carr is not the answer, they're going to have to find somebody who is.
Yeah, because we might have to go quarterback in the draft. Just imagine if it doesn't work out for Mariota or Carr in this upcoming season. You just don't know. At the end of the day, okay, is Peterman so Peterman is the answer? Absolutely not. I think Peterman is hell no. I think he's definitely not the answer, in my personal opinion. I don't see him being the answer. I feel like if we could get one in the draft, if Trevor Lawrence is up there or is another quarterback outside of that, but we got to think about it as well. Is college football going to even have a season to analyze any of this at the end of the day? So that's a big story in itself. Doing this mock draft, knowing darn well we just don't know if we're going to even have a college football season. And that really going to hurt for a lot of NFL scouts like ourselves, because we just don't know what is going to happen with, with college football. Is it going to start? Is it not going to start? So we just don't know. Anthony said Derek Carr is going to be a Raider quarterback for the next 10 plus years. He got to do something this year to start that 10 plus years again.
I agree.
That's just my personal opinion. Like, you just have to try to find some way to get Derek Carr the problem, like to get Derek Carr not to be the problem. Melvin Barlow says, my question is, how good can the chemistry be with Ruggs and Carr, and how will Gruden utilize Ruggs? You want to take on this question?
Sure. It's going to be really difficult with this COVID situation and the lack of a real dedicated offseason between Carr and Ruggs. Wide receivers coming out of the draft normally have a bit of a learning curve as it is. Now you add in the lack of preseason games. Now they're already talking about cutting multiple preseason games. They already cut the Hall of Fame game. So more will come after that. But on top of that, then you're losing practices, you're losing time with the quarterback. Ruggs, with his injury, didn't have any time to meet with the boys at the yard or in the playground or whatever they were throwing the ball around. I think the Raiders had like 25 or 30 different players kind of getting together in those unofficial workouts that then had to be canceled by the NFL. So long story short, I wouldn't expect an immediate chemistry with Ruggs and Carr as far as the passing game. But to your second part of your question, I do think that John Gruden is going to utilize as many different plays as possible in creative ways to get the ball in Ruggs' hands, whether that's jet sweeps, whether that's bubble screens, however he can do that without maybe, utilizing really difficult routes or putting him in full and installing the entire offense with him. He may just start out the first half of the season as a specialty player. And to be perfectly honest, as long as he's making an impact, that's great for me. And that's worth and the reason why they picked him. So I think that he's going to be kind of more of I don't want to say a gadget guy, but I want to say they're going to manufacture a lot of touches for him in the beginning of the season before he really gets to absorb the offense and get more into the passing routes, on a full game basis.
You said it right on the money. It's just really like the pandemic is really slowing everything down for us at the end of the day, knowing well that they should be in OTAs right now, trying to get that chemistry with each other. And it's tough. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough for a lot of NFL teams to catch their chemistry during this season, knowing that they dropping down, they dropping the NFL preseason game, so that even hurts even more. So thank you, Melvin Barlow, for your question. But we definitely want to get back into this actual thing here. So the next thing that we're going to go over to RaidersWire.com. And Raiders Wire do have some good information here. They are ranking the AFC West safety duos. I know that wasn't a part of our segment, but it did come up according to RaidersWire.com. This is how they have the safety duos. They have us ranked last in safety duos in the AFC West. The starters will be Jonathan Abram and Demarius Randall / Eric Harris. They have the they have the Chiefs at number 3 with Tyrann Mathieu and Wayne Thornhill. Number 2 is the Chargers with Derwin James and Rayshawn Jenkins. And number 1, they have the Broncos with Kareem Jackson and Justin Simmons. I'm not going to read all of this, but that's how they have the safety duos ranked from 1 to 4. How you feel about this? Because me personally, I feel like we kind of like, if Abram can stay healthy, yes, I say we should go up a little bit higher, probably 3 at the most. We just don't know, but
we'll see how they perform. But honestly, Abram and Demarius Randall need to perform at a high level to even get above the Chiefs and the Chargers. LA, I mean, you're looking at 3 teams in this division that have at least one game-breaking all-pro type playing safety with Mathieu, Derwin James, and and the two safeties of the Broncos, which are actually really good. So we don't know what Abram is yet. Abram could be a starting, safety. He never was a real ball hawk or a dynamic playmaker. He was always kind of a thumper and an energy guy, which if he plays to the top of his ability will certainly be kind of like a great starting safety in the NFL. But I don't think that he's a Derwin James or a Tyrann Mathieu type game changer. And certainly don't think that, Damaris Randall has the capacity to be much better than he's shown in his career. So unfortunately, even if those guys play very well and are good safeties for the Raiders this year and everyone's ecstatic about how they performed, I still don't think that you could really rank them any better than the majority of the AFC West.
Yeah, because I know that every duo is going to be healthy. Knowing the times at Darren James was out a lot of last year. So knowing that you bringing him back on fully healthy, that you have Kareem Jackson coming over from the Chicago Bears. I think, he's coming over with the defensive coordinator as well, which was a head coach, was a defensive coordinator for the Bears the year before. Now he's the head coach of the Denver Broncos. So you're bringing people over, and you bring people over to be very competitive with this AFC West safety duos. Number 4, I'm not really mad at it right now. I think it's just proven until we got to prove ourselves. We got to see. We got to play at a high level. We got to play defense at a high level on all 3 phases, not just safeties. It's a question, not really a question mark, but it's a proven defensive unit that has to be proved from all 3 phases of the game, from defensive line to linebacker to corners and safeties. Knowing that we got all these key additions, they all look good on paper, but we got to see how it mesh when we get on the football field, especially going up against a Patrick Mahomes and a Drew Brees, now Cam Newton, Tom Brady. So it's going to be a lot of quarterbacks that we have to go up against. And then you got to think about it. We got Justin Herbert, we got Drew Lock, we got a lot of young quarterbacks in the AFC West as well. So we got to put up or shut up when it comes to the defense. We look good on paper, but we got to prove it. We got to see how it turns out on the field.
I think, we've said it before. Jonathan Abram establishing himself as a quality starting safety is one of the keys to the Raiders season for 2020 for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, before we're going to get through all of our topics now, and then we're going to take y'all questions later. Shout out to Derek Lager from the Big Juice. He's a Colts fan. I will be on his show soon. We'll be talking Raiders versus Colts. I'm gonna be on a lot of other people's channels as well, doing matchups with Raiders and like the Bills. Like shout out to Ryan Mitchell. Ryan Mitchell is a part of he has a Bills channel. I will be on there at 1:00 Eastern Standard Time tomorrow. So we're definitely going to check that out as well. So it's definitely going to be awesome to watch. So let's get into the next topic as well. And that next topic is, and the question, and this is my question for you, Eli. Could Darren Waller become the second ever Raider to reach 100 receptions in a single season?
Off the cuff, I'm going to say no. And I'm not going to say that because I think Darren Waller is going to have a regress season. I do think he's going to be one of the best tight ends and one of the most effective weapons for the Raiders. But I do think that the Raiders have gotten much better on the offensive side of the ball as far as weapons are concerned this year. I think that with Ruggs, I think that with, even some people say he won't make the team, but I think he's going to surprise people. Nelson Aguilar, Jason Witten on the team now, Bowden Jr. So all these new toys that John Gruden has, I do think that he's going to utilize them. And with that, Waller might not be as focused and get as many opportunities as it did last year. But that being said, I think that he's still going to have a great season. His numbers might not be as good, but he's going to be a game breaker, continue to be a game breaker week in and week out, and probably still be Carr's favorite target. I don't see him getting 100 receptions. I could see him doing something similar maybe to what he did last year, but I could even see his reception numbers and yardage numbers going down with the win totals of the Raiders and the offensive production as a whole going up.
So this is what they said about Darren Waller getting possibly being the second ever tight end in Raiders history to hit 100 receptions. They're saying throughout the history of the Raiders, they have several fantastic seasons by their pass catchers. In 1983, tight end Todd Christensen put on a show as he's the first All-Pro season as he caught 92 passes for 1,247 yards and 12 touchdowns. And then there was Jerry Rice at the age of 40 who caught 92 yards, caught 92 passes for 1,211 yards and 7 touchdowns in their Super Bowl run. The best season in Raiders history as a pass catcher was Trent Brown in 97. Not only did he set the franchise record for 1,408 receiving yards, but he's also the only player in team history that ever reached 100 or more receptions. So they're saying that entering 2020 that the Raiders don't have a receiver on the roster capable of catching anywhere close to 100 passes. However, they do have a tight end that could potentially reach that. And they saying that Darren Waller, because of his full season last year, when he did catch 90 passes for 1,145 yards and only 3 touchdowns, which I feel like that has to change. He is 28 years old. Waller is in the prime of his career. He could be one of the best tight ends in the league and somewhat new to the tight end position. I don't see him getting 100 receptions either. You got to think about what Darren Waller had last year. He didn't really have much at the receiver position. When Tyrell Williams went down, Waller was kind of like the number one receiver outside of Hunter Renfrow. If you and sometimes you had a little bit of Zay Jones. You had bits and pieces there, but
yeah, and he was pretty much the only wide. He was the only target for a lot of weeks, and that won't be the case this year. So, he has all the talent to do it potentially, but that's not how the Raiders' offense is going to work. That's not how the offense is meant to work. Just kind of plugging and feeding somebody the ball 100 million times. So I think that there's very little chance of him getting 100, receptions next year.
Yeah, it's a small chance in my personal opinion. If we had the same roster from last year and we didn't go pick up like a Nico Leary and a Jason Witten on top of that with a Foster Monroe, like it's going to be a lot of gadgets that we have on our offense. Darren Waller not going to be able to catch 100 passes with all those gadgets. Tyrell Williams coming back. Hunter Renfrow's coming back. Then you got Brian Edwards. Then you got Ruggs. Then you got Lynn Bowden. Then Zay Jones. Nelson Aguilar. We don't know if everybody's going to be on the roster, but right now, the way that our offense is looking at every position, we have depth, and he's just not going to throw the ball to one person. Yes, it might be his favorite target because he's so big and so tall. He could go up and get those 50-50 balls, but that's why we brought in a Brian Edwards on the outside, knowing just in case if Tyrell Williams does get hurt, you never know. So I don't see 100 catches, but I do see between, if not, it depending on how everybody else do, I still say 70 receptions, which I think that's pretty like normal in some ways for a tight end, especially for a top tight end. Which you think? You think lower than that, Eli?
No, I think he can get 70 receptions. I mean, even look at last year. I think Jason Witten had over 60 receptions with the Cowboys. I think that he can maybe hit 70 receptions. I play fantasy football in a league or so. But at this point, man, all I care about is winning and John Gruden's offense moving the ball and scoring touchdowns is going to be a key for the Raiders to win and make the playoffs this year. So I really don't give a shit who catches the ball. And I think right now with Foster Moreau and Jason Witten, the Raiders have 3 tight ends that are capable of catching 50-plus balls. Really, I do think Foster Moreau is that good. So, whoever it is out of those 3 tight ends catching the ball and catching touchdowns, I just want to do it more often and at a better clip than they did last year.
Right. No, that's just win, baby. That's just what it is. It's just win, baby. So we're just gonna go on to the next topic here, and the next topic is that Raiders offensive tackle Trent Brown expects improvement of the offense in 2020. And he, according to his quote, he said it's about to be scary. Now, what he's when the Raiders general manager Mike Mayock joined the club in 2019, one of his biggest free agent acquisitions was Trent Brown from the New England Patriots, knowing he just won a Super Bowl at that time. Now, Trent Brown is 6'8", 380 pounds at that. He paid immediate dividends, earning a Pro Bowl berth in 2019. He played stellar last year and knows what it takes to be a champion, having won the Super Bowl with the Patriots back in 2018. The big man was excited about the Raiders' chances in 2020, especially on the offense. He told Fresno Bee Anthony Galvez in an article that he thinks Mike Mayock offseason moves made him better, and he expects to build on the 7-9 record in 2019. Now, this is what Trent Brown followed up, saying about his support in the front office, the franchise attempts to win games, try to win the fourth Lombardi Trophy, as he predicted some magic on the offense in the Raiders' first year in Las Vegas. He says, even with the additions last year, me being one of them, you can look at those guys and trust the organization to put the right players in place for us to win some games and win some championships. Henry Ruggs, and we still got one of the best backs in the league in Josh Jacobs, and we got the best offensive line in the league. I mean, it's about to be scary. I'm excited, and I definitely think it's going to be special times in the silver and black for years to come. How do you feel about what Trent Brown said about that?
Yeah, I mean, going back to what I just said, it's all about potential, right? Ruggs has the potential to be a game-breaking offensive player for the Raiders. Bowden has explosibility, or what do you call it? The active explosion, or whatever it is,
or elusiveness.
Yeah, whatever you want to say. The je ne sais quoi of the offense. Brian Jones has the potential to be a game breaker on the outside as well. You have guys like Jason Witten who could have a surprising kind of last hurrah with the Raiders, and that offensive line, if they stay healthy, really can be the best offensive line in football. I mean, they're the highest paid, so they damn well better be. But if everything really comes together, like we kind of thought it would last year, or we kind of thought it would in 2017, and it didn't, which I think gives a lot of people pause and makes them more reserved than getting all rah. But there's a lot of potential for this Raiders offense to be very, very good. And people are starting to kind of, and the pundits are really starting to come around too, and realizing that the Raiders have put together some pretty good players around Derek Carr and that great offensive line. COVID aside, if they can start playing some preseason games, they can get on the field, start practicing together, get some momentum going into the season. Yeah, you could see a really good offense this year.
All right, so we do have a quick question real quick. He said, MLB Landon wrote to the show, said, what is your record predictions for the Raiders? I think we did this already in previous shows. I think me and Eli both agreed that both of us would go 10-6. I think we did that on the first initial when the schedule first came out. Are you sticking by that, Eli, the 10-6, or do you have any changes?
I mean, 9-7, 10-6. The most important stat is going to be they're going to make that last playoff berth, and I think that's really the only thing that anyone should really care about. They're going to make that last playoff berth, whether it's with 9 wins or even 8 wins. However they do it, they're going to make that last number 7 playoff berth. That's my prediction for this year. They're going to continue and improve all offense. That should help them improve their record by a couple, if not a few. So I'm going to stick with 10-6 because I'm being bullish on their ability to not only move the football again this year, but put it in the end zone. You do that, you're going to win football games.
I agree. We both said 9-7 or 6-10. I'm not 6-10, 9-7 or 10-6. One or the other, and I think we're both sticking by that. And that's the question. Thank you for the question. MLB Landon, roll to the show. Thank you so much. But as far as what Trent Brown said, I love his positivity. I love that the fact that he believes in this organization and where this organization is going to go. I really love what he said. It wasn't cocky. It was confident. So I'm really excited to see what he has in store, especially with this offensive line. Bringing John Simpson in as a rookie and make sure this unit is back on one force and one unisys, so we can protect Carr and block for Josh Jacobs and all these other weapons that we have. But it's going to be a interesting year knowing what Trent Brown said in this article. I think I'm pretty proud of what he said. How you feel?
Yeah, totally. I agree. They if everything goes right, they're going to have a really good offense this year. Again, I thought the same thing in 2017. That turned out to be a total train wreck, but this year I think that they have all the tools that if they perform well, I think they're going to be good.
Yeah, they will definitely be good. I'll definitely agree with that. Especially at the end of the day, it got to go down to who can execute. Sometimes the coaches can put the plays out there, but we have to execute. That's the one of the biggest things that we have to do, is especially on them third downs and stuff like that. I didn't want to change it up because I was going to do the ranking of the AFC corners, which is kind of like we did with the D backs. I mean the safeties, but I'm not going to do the corners. I do want to bring up this topic though. As well on Raiders Wire is, could John Simpson be a surprise starter for the Raiders this season? So what it says according to RaidersWire.com is saying for the most part that the Raiders starting offense is seemed to be set, but they are bringing back 5 starters on the offensive line, and only real change they could be at receiver and Ruggs the third. But what are the odds that the Raiders will have a surprise starter on the side of the ball? Now, in recent articles, they said, according to Bleacher Report, that he was named the potential surprise starter of all 32 teams entering the 2020 season. For the Raiders, 4th-round pick John Simpson was named a possible replacement for Gabe Jackson and should be a team move for him. Here is what they had to say according to Bleacher Report. They said at this point that the Raiders have 2 options if they're eager to move Jackson. Either way, they take whatever a suitor is willing to get for the 29-year-old blocker or release him to save $9.6 million. Either way, the general manager Mike Mayock covered team bases by drafting Clemson John Simpson in this year's 4th round. Like Jackson, Simpson is powerful guard at this point of attack and tailor-made for the Raiders' offensive scheme. Now, they say it's doubtful that the Raiders would move on from Jackson at this point of the offseason, considering his contract is now guaranteed for 2020 season. However, there's no guaranteed money for it's not really no guaranteed money left on his deal. After the year, it does likely seem that Simpson could be the potential replacement in 2021. Instead, look for Simpson to compete for the backup guard spot, potentially being active on game days. However, don't be surprised if Simpson finds his way onto the field one way or another. What is your input on what that is?
I think, unfortunately, to my point, or to I guess both of us agree that this offensive line, when healthy, is a talented offensive line and should be one of the best, if not the best, offensive lines in football. That being said, Gabe Jackson has had injury issues the last couple of years. Richie Incognito is getting up there. I think he's 37 or 38 years old. So there's no doubt in my mind the potential for, Simpson to have to step up and fill in some time on the offensive line. If he can do it at a high level, that's great for the future. I think that potentially in 2021, he becomes, an option at guard instead of Jackson. Or Incognito if he all of a sudden hits a wall and no longer can perform at a high level. I hope that both of them can continue to do that. But as they said in the article, at this point right now, it's too late for for Jackson really to move him. It's guaranteed money. I don't think anybody's going to trade for him at this point. We have our team, I think, right now going into this season. There's obviously going to be some other holes being filled once we get rid of some people on our roster and other teams get rid of some people. You're going to see some backup reserve positions getting filled. But I think that this is what the Raiders are rolling into 2020 as. So I think you keep Gabe Jackson. And Simpson, hopefully he's as good as advertised, and he's a starter in years to come.
Yeah, I could see if they don't move on from Gabe Jackson, I could definitely see, John Simpson could be a starter in the future because Gabe Jackson is still a young, talented offensive lineman. Understand that you are paying him a much to a point that you was potentially about to trade him or release him to save $9.6 million. But John Simpson is definitely going to be a force in this league. He's a really big guy. He definitely can pancake a lot of these defensive linemen that we see in the league. But it's going to be some growing pains for him as well because he's just not going to come on the field and just be an immediate impact. It's going to be some growing pains. He's still going to have to learn the offense and the offensive line schemes and everything that comes with it. So, yeah, I can see him being a starter. But right now in 2020, I don't see it depending on injury. God forbid anybody does get injured on the offensive line, but I'll see him being the next man up and helping that offensive line as well. All right, so we do have some sad news in the Raiders news. Former Raiders head coach Joe Bugle dies at the age of 80. I wanted to talk about this because this is still part of Raiders history, in my personal opinion. The word
Joe Bugle.
Bugle, yeah. I keep saying these names wrong. I don't know why, but we did lose him at the age of 80, but he did live a long life. His final season he was a head coach with the Oakland Raiders at the time, and he has been the team's offensive coordinator for 2 seasons that was evaluated into head coach in 1997. He was well respected, offensive mind. He began his coaching career with the Detroit Lions in 1975 at the age of 35, coaching the offensive line. From there, he moved on to the same position with the Houston Oilers. He got his first offensive coordinator job in Washington in 1981, and he spent 9 years in that position as well as evaluated to assistant head coach in 1983. While Washington, he helped develop an iconic Hogs offensive line will help the team win a Super Bowl championship under the Hall of Fame coach Joe Gibbs. Upon learning about his death in 1990, he was the first head coaching job with the Phoenix Cardinals. Spent 4 seasons as the head coach in Arizona before coming to Oakland in the office of coordinator. After a 4-12 season with the Raiders, he was replaced by 35-year-old John Gruden. From there, he will go back to coaching the offensive line for 10 years and first with the Chargers, then back with Washington, then retiring in 2009 at the age of 69. How do you feel about this, knowing the passing of him and knowing that he was, with the Raiders twice in his tender?
Yeah, I mean, Joe Bugle, he was synonymous with that, that Redskins, the Hogs and John Riggins and that whole era of football. He really had his hand in crafting that. And I remember when Al Davis hired him as coach, I think that everyone was kind of looking for that, power run game and that big offense and, that could move the ball on the ground with big offensive linemen. I think everybody was kind of itching for that. And, it couldn't have been further from reality, though, what happened as him with head coach with the Raiders. But, listen, being a head coach is difficult and winning football games is difficult. I can't blame the guy. He went on, with proof of how talented he was and how much of an offensive mind he was. He had coached for 10 more years after he totally bombed in Oakland as a head coach. So, he was a brief stay with the Raiders, but, I can't say that I was really sorry to see him leave the team, but it's sorry to hear about his passing. I think that everybody kind of thought he was a pretty good guy. And again, part of NFL lore for sure.
Yeah, definitely a Hall of Fame coach. Um, for the Washington Redskins, not really much for us. But like I said, once a Raider, always a Raider. At the end of the day, we all a big family. That regardless if you move on from other teams or not, you did wear that silver and black, so that definitely meant something to him, and it definitely means something to us as Raiders fans. That we have to remember, like sometimes business is business. Like if they fired him to go in a different direction, at the end of the day, he tried to help us win games. It didn't work out the way that we probably wanted it, but he was still here. Once a Raider, always a Raider. Rest in peace. God bless your soul. And I just wanted to throw that in there as a topic, just because of, you know, you gotta, even though that he wasn't really too much successful here, he's still a Raider at the end of the day. But knowing he's known as a Washington Redskin for what he did, but he still wore that silver and black. And that means a lot to the Raiders fans, to the Raider Nation, to the Raiders culture, no matter if it's in Las Vegas, no matter if it's in Oakland, no matter if it's in LA, it's still silver and black no matter where we went.
For sure.
All right. So we finally got that one out the way. We got 4 more topics for y'all, ladies and gentlemen. Then we're going to get into the live Q&A. We're going to be taking your questions as well. Make sure y'all follow us on social media. Right now we are on YouTube at the Spotlight Raiders Talk. Follow us on Instagram at Spotlight Raiders Talk. Follow us on Twitter at Spotlight RN Talk. So make sure y'all follow us on there. So the next questions that we have, the next one that we do have is, would 2 more wins in 2020 for the Raiders be realistic? Now, I read this on RaiderRamble.com, and they were saying that the Raiders head coach John Gruden is familiar with turnarounds in his career. 2020 could behold his 3rd. Now, I can say that the Raiders, that is it any more excuses for the Raiders this year? I say it's no more excuses. And having saying that the Raiders, both Carr and Gruden, are running out of excuses. Unfortunately, one big obstacle remains the fact that they play in the same division as the Super Bowl champions, Kansas City Chiefs, and that's not withstanding, at all. I just have to be honest with you. It's just mind-boggling to me. It's just that the Raiders offense the Raiders team as well. We cannot miss the playoffs this year. We cannot.
No.
We cannot. So winning 2 more games, is it realistic? Yes, it can be realistic. It really can. Derek Carr got so many weapons on the offensive side. There's no excuse of Derek Carr not being successful. Number 2, we have one of the top running backs in the league. There's no excuse why we don't take 2 more games. Number 3, the NFL is giving us and other teams a chance, adding a couple more spots in the playoffs. There's no way we shouldn't even miss the playoffs. We have everything is not being given to us, but it's right there in our lap on paper. It's right there in our lap. 9-7 is satisfying with me if we go to the playoffs. 10-6 is even satisfying with me. That's 3 more wins than what we had last year. I take that. So, yes, I think it will be more realistic for us to win 2 more games or 3 more games next in 2020. How you feel about that?
The Raiders at one point were 6-4, poised to take on a Jets team that was not a very good team, to be perfectly honest with you. And their season kind of fell apart last year, and they still were playing to make the playoffs in week 17 last year. There's no doubt in my mind that the Raiders have improved from 2019. It's obvious to anybody that looks at the roster, that everybody looks at the talent that the Raiders have brought in. They are at least better than they were last year. So yes, it's realistic to win 2 more games. And as I said before, and as you so eloquently put, it's not just realistic. It's almost a must for them to, win a couple more games and make the playoffs. But like I said, and you said too, I don't care if they're 8-8 next year and they only win one more game. As long as they make that last playoff spot, I don't care. 8 games, 9 games, whatever it is, make the playoffs next year. That should be the goal. It's playoffs or bust. And if they don't make the playoffs, there's some wholesale changes happening in the 2021 offseason.
Raiders for life. I could kind of understand what you're saying. You saying 12 games, but you got to look at the first 5 games of this season. The first 5 games, we got Carolina, we got New Orleans, we got New England, we got the Bills, we got the Buccaneers. Like, that's the first 5, the Chiefs. 6 games right there. So we got to at least go what? 4-2 at least out of those, or something, because right now, right after that, I think Denver's winnable. I think the Chargers are winnable. I think the Colts are winnable. I think they're winnable games, but at the same time, you got to look at it. We look good on paper. We got to see how it comes off on the field. Yes, 12 games. Yes, I can see that too. And I can definitely agree with that. But to be realistic, if we could go 8-8 and still make the playoffs, I am fine with that. But if we go 8-8 and we miss it, I would have preferred to go 9-7 or 10-6 to get those 2 extra wins to make sure we secure our spot into that playoffs instead of fighting for it being 8-8. So Raiders for life, I could kind of understand what you're saying. I understand the mileage of the way we're flying is not much as what we did last year. But those games, remember, is Teddy Bridgewater, Patrick Mahomes, Drew Brees. You got Josh Allen. You got Tom Brady. You got so many good quarterbacks that we got to go up against this defense. Cam Newton now. So, like, it's going to be a tough stretch in the first 5 or 6 games. I'm just going to say.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to be a war, and I think that this team is going to take a little bit to gel because with the talent that they brought in, let's not forget that they are new players. They're going to need to get used to each other, especially with this abbreviated and strange offseason. So, I don't see us getting off to a really fast start to get to that 12 game to get any sort of 12-game, threshold for wins. But playoffs are bust this year. That's all I got to say about that.
Right. Even if we go 8-8, 9-7, or 10-6, as long as we in the playoffs, I am satisfied with the season. Agreed. I am satisfied. Even I understand 12. Everybody want to win 12 games to be 12-4. I can completely understand that. I would love for us to go 12-4 again. But realistically, 8-8, 9-7, 10-6. 10-6 is the most satisfying out of all of those 3. I would love to see 12-4, but we talking realistically and what we need to do right now. So, that was an interesting topic there, in my personal opinion, because there's no excuses. There's no excuses for this Raiders defense either. Exactly, Marcus 85. Anything less than 500 is a failure. It is. So we're going to get into the next topic. King Savage 12-4 says, just win, baby. Hey, I love y'all predictions. I love where y'all at with it. I love it.
If we're 12-4, hell yeah, we're all going to be extraordinarily excited at the end of the season. But, we've said it before. It's playoffs or bust. They'll make the playoffs at 12-4.
Absolutely. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. I'll take that. So we're going to go into the next topic here. And that next topic is the Raiders tight ends responsible for more than 1/3 of the offensive output. Now, according to RaiderRamble.com, the Las Vegas Raiders have a talented tight end group in 2019. That should continue to be the case in 2020 with the addition of the veteran Jason Witten. The unit as a whole was responsible for the high amount of team offense last year, and it will likely be some of the case this upcoming season. Like we talked about Darren Waller earlier in the segment when we said that he had 90 catches for 1,145 yards and 3 touchdowns. Although Foster Moreau was more of a blocker than a pass catcher, he finished with 5 touchdowns. Interesting that he had more touchdowns than Darren Waller. That's interesting. Derek Carrier had 13 receptions but only had 1 touchdown to his name. As a whole, the Raiders tight ends had 130 targets and 9 touchdowns. Moreover, they had the most receptions by a tight end in 2019's regular season, according to Pro Football Focus. So the first team was the Philadelphia Eagles with 163, the Ravens with 132, and we was third with 130. In 2019, the Raiders quarterback Derek Carr completed 361 passes for 21 touchdowns. So their tight ends caught at least 36% of the signal caller's passes. That's despite the fact that it was Waller's first year in a feature role, and Moreau was likely adjusting to the pro level as a rookie. In the addition of Witten, Jason Witten would definitely do nothing but help this group on the field. On the other hand, the veteran can help Waller and Moreau get stronger to hold the position. Now, I can say, do you feel that it will be 1/3 of the offense now, knowing that we do have all this? But mind you, they didn't even mention Nick O'Leary that could catch the football with his bare hands and no gloves. So, how you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, we've kind of said before, with all the new weapons that Gruden has at his disposal now, with Ruggs and Bowden Jr. and Edwards and also Aguilar. And not only on top of that, the talk is that they're going to try to work Josh Jacobs into the passing game a little bit more this year as well. So I think with all of that happening, I think that even with Witten coming in, I think that it's going to kind of spread itself out. Per our combo earlier, where I think that Waller's numbers are going to go down, but I think the tight ends themselves are going to be just as, if not more, productive, especially in the red zone. So I think you're going to see more touchdowns, maybe less targets for the tight end group. And you're going to be utilizing Ruggs a lot more. You're going to be utilizing a healthy Tyrone Williams a lot more. You're going to be utilizing, Aguilar. You're going to be utilizing, Josh Jacobs. So I don't think that, if it's going to be 1/3, maybe it ends up being that, but I don't think it's going to be as much as it was last year, where Carr really didn't have the weapons on the outside to really exploit any defenses.
Absolutely. It's just gonna be a lot of weapons. So I mean, it might could be 1/3 of the offense, but I feel like even though we forgot Hunter Renfrow, we forgot Alec Ingold as well. So like Alec Ingold is our fullback, but he could catch the ball in the backfield a little bit in some goal line situations. So just never know what the Raiders might do with this offense. There's so many weapons offensively. I can't really say 1/3. I can't really say it. It's a lot. It's a lot. So we're going to turn it over to defense now. We definitely want to turn over to defense. And the question is, will Nick Kowalski be the answer to the Raiders' linebacking woes? And another question on top of that is Kowalski ready for a full-time role? And I'm going to answer that for y'all first. But the Las Vegas Raiders signed Nick Kowalski to improve the production at the middle linebacker position. Having said that, he's really an upgrade to the former starter Tahir Whitehead. I mean, we have to find out and see though. So the Raiders invested heavily on Corey Littleton and Kowalski to patch up the linebacking corps, while the former could already be in the team's most underrated player on the team. Later may have a harder time making impact on the NFL team. But we're going to go into the question here. Is Kowalski ready for a full-time role with the Las Vegas Raiders? According to ESPN, they said the Kowalski signing may not amount to the improvement at the middle linebacker position. In a recent article, they broke down the Raiders roster and they looked at every single position to see if they were better or worse as the same as last season. And regarding to the middle linebacker, the insider said it hasn't improved and he can't be a 16-game starter yet. I'm gonna say this.
Personally, I think that whoever that insider is should be fired on the spot, or just asked what the hell was he watching the last 3 years on the Raiders that makes him think that anybody in the live chat right now couldn't be a better linebacker than what the Raiders have been throwing out as their starters the last 3 seasons. Kwiatkowski might not be the best linebacker in the AFC West, but he's certainly much better than anything the Raiders have been playing and throwing out as a starting linebacker the last 2 years. And honestly, Burfict was fine, but
until the suspension.
Yeah, but then he got suspended. So, I mean, take away that, and they were awful. And the year before, even worse. So, I don't know what the hell this guy's talking about.
Just to let y'all know, if y'all want to find him, his name is Paul Gutierrez from ESPN.
Paul Gutierrez. No, that guy, that's ludicrous. Anybody that looked at the dumpster fire that was the Raiders linebacking core the last few seasons, again, they could have put anybody on there, but Kwiatkowski has promise. He he can make plays. He's played well when he's played with the with the Bears. Yeah, he hasn't played for a full season or started a full season. Well, that's great. He's still better than anybody the Raiders had last year. And let's not forget that Littleton is way better than anybody the Raiders had. He himself makes the whole position, an upgrade. So I can't agree with Paul Gutierrez. And I do think that, he's certainly an important part of this defense, being better next year.
I agree. I feel like Paul Gutierrez is smoking crack. I don't know what is going on with him. Thinking that Nick Kwiatkowski can't be a full-time starter, I think he can be. If you have not watched his highlights over when he played for the Chicago Bears, make sure y'all go look at the Raiders versus Bears highlights. Or look at any Bears highlights that he played for last year. He was very disruptive. He was a playmaker. He was a good signal caller. He just didn't get the spotlight that he had because they got Roquan Smith over there. So, and then, with the Khalil Max and Leonard Floyds and all that over there, that's why Kwiatkowski left. He wanted to be that play caller, and then to have Corey Littleton come over and be that help for Kwiatkowski is going to give him a boost. I think Paul Gutierrez, I don't know why you writing this stupid article thinking that Kwiatkowski is not a starter in this league. He is a starter in this league, and he damn well would be a good linebacker for us. Do I think he's better than Tahir Whitehead? That's for us to see.
Yeah, I mean, I do. I think that he's better than Tahir Whitehead, and I think that he's at least as good as Burfict was. If he learns the defense the way that Burfict did, there's no doubt in my mind that he can be as good as he was, which makes him better than anybody the Raiders had after week 6 last year, at the linebacking position. So yeah, that's all. I think that he will be part of the answer. Obviously, Littleton is the answer to the linebacking woes. It's interesting that they mentioned Kwiatkowski and not him, but if they both play well and they both play the way that we want, Raiders defense can be much better.
And my bad. Thank you, Watts Raider, for telling me he was behind Danny Trevathan on the Chicago Bears. Wish Danny Trevathan couldn't stay healthy to save his life. His best years was in Denver, and he went to Chicago, and he ain't been the same since. So that's another story for another time. But I think Nick Kwiatkowski will be a good linebacker for us, being right next to Corey Littleton, which is one of the hottest up-and-coming, linebackers in this league. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. So, we go into the final question of the night. This is an interesting one, and a lot of people going to hate me for this one. Lamarcus Joyner, weakest link in Raiders defense. And I think a lot of people are going to agree with me on this one, because I know that's why I wanted to bring this topic up, because I know the comments is about to go crazy about Lamarcus Joyner. They're about to go crazy about him. Although they made changes this past offseason, the cornerback Lamarcus Joyner remains with the team. Heading into the season, it may be the team weakest link. The Raiders signed Joyner in 2019 offseason with the intention of shadowing the opponent's slot receivers. Throughout the season, he struggled with that role, though. Although I can say that the organization plans to leave Joyner in the slot, and they currently, training him to play safety. After all, the most success with the Rams patrolling the back end of the field. The question is Lamarcus Joyner a liability on defense? And this is what Pro Football Focus had to say about Lamarcus Joyner. Last year, Joyner gave a 42.8 grade in coverage, which is not acceptable at all. That's after getting a 71.2 grade in 2018 and a 91.3 grade in 2017. The drop might have been due to the fact that he's more comfortable playing safety. Now, Joyner's performance was poor that Pro Football Focus named him the Raiders' biggest weakness heading into 2020 season, and this is what the advanced stats site had to say about the veteran. Given the limited offseason, Lamarcus Joyner will probably retain his starting job in the slot, but this is not the best fit for the Raiders' defense. Joyner enjoys nothing but success when he's lined up at free safety with the Rams, and he moved to the slot position in 2019 when he had a career low of 42.8 grade in coverage. It wouldn't be a surprise to see someone else in that role at the same point next season. Even though he thrived at safety, it won't happen. One of the reasons is Chris Harris passed on signing with the Raiders was the fact that they told him that Joyner would stay in the slot. Now I have to say this: to be able to part ways with Lamarcus Joyner, which would be a reasonable cap hit to $2.5 million. They saying that Joyner is failed to make an impact in 2019, and after thriving in previous 2 years, 2020 season will show whether last season was just a bad year or to start to trend up. Now, I have to say this. Lamarcus Joyner is better at safety. We've been saying this all along. You've been saying it, Eli. He's better off at safety. If you look at the highlights from the Rams, because I actually went back and watched Lamarcus Joyner when I did this topic. He's so comfortable at safety, knowing that it just, God forbid, if Abram goes down, why not put Lamarcus Joyner there? Just to test the waters to see what can happen,
I mean, I think that he's, like you said, they're giving him some time at safety, and I think that being out in the open and the Raiders being forthcoming about that shows that Gunther realizes how poorly Joyner performed last year. Now, that being said, Joyner did play some slot cornerback for the Rams, and I don't think he is as bad as he was last year. He was very bad last year. I think that even, I don't think you can get any worse. And I do think that if he stays the whole season, maybe not at starting slot corner, but if he stays at slot corner and doesn't get moved to safety, he will perform better. I have confidence that this guy isn't that bad of a football player. I think that he can play better at slot cornerback. That being said, the Raiders have a lot of young cornerbacks that want to have playing time, and there's a lot of options at that slot, and not just Robertson. We now have a Mukamara that can play a starting role. If Trayvon Mullen continues on his path and remains a starting cornerback, perhaps Arnett moves inside as the slot cornerback at some point. Demarius Randall has played slot corner in his time in Cleveland, or I believe in Green Bay as well. So you have a lot of people that can, if he continues to struggle at slot corner, can move in there, and Joyner can still add value to the Raiders defense at safety. So if you're just what we talked about, Kwiatkowski being an upgrade to what they had, which I believe was one of the weakest links last year, was Tahir Whitehead. Joyner was obviously one of the weak links last year. So yeah, if you look at the holes that they filled with Littleton and with Kwiatkowski, and also with some of the defensive interior linemen that they brought in, he still looks like the odd man out as far as being the weak glaring hole coming into 2020. I don't know why. I have this feeling that Lamarcus Joyner is going to have a huge, now when I say huge, I mean not a total gaping hole in the defense, bounce back performance in 2020, where he actually looks like a capable starting cornerback, not a lost, useless player like he was in 2019.
Absolutely. I feel like Lamarcus Joyner just need to be comfortable in this Paul Guntner's defense, because this kind of like on a bubble for Paul Guntner as well. If you want to be honest, it's on a bubble for him as a defensive coordinator. Is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I think Joyner will definitely improve from last year if you put him in the position that he plays comfortable. Because right now, Guntner does have him playing out of position and not playing to his strengths, but he's playing to his weaknesses. And that's not really supposed to do. You're supposed to play to your strong suit. Right now, I understand that you had Eric Harris back there, but last year when Abram went down, you could have put Lamarcus Joyner there at the time. No, but we really didn't have no depth at corner either, because Isaiah Johnson.
I was gonna say, there was nobody to fill in that cornerback spot. Now that there is some depth potentially at corner, you have some of these young guys that can fill in potentially. So if that happens, I do think that they will play Lamarcus Joyner at safety a little bit more if Demarius Randall doesn't perform well. I think we got some love from Son Joku, my man.
Son Joku, thank you for the $5 holla. Thank you so much for the donation. Thank you so much, man. Really do appreciate it. Let me refresh my web browser so we could put the questions up. For some reason, it stopped commenting for some reason, so just give me a second while I refresh my page.
Womp, 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 womp.
So I want to finally get into the actual questions. As of right now, we can get into the actual questions. Derek Larger says, what are your expectations for Clelin Ferrell going forward? Numbers obviously haven't lived up to what the Raiders drafted him, but can he get much better going forward? Any expectations? You can take this one while I run to the restroom real quick.
I'll give you some horns back there, Derek. We've talked about Clelin Ferrell a little bit on the show. I do think that he is going to have a more consistent year in 2020. What does that mean stat-wise? I can't say that he's going to become a 10-sack guy like Max Crosby was last year, but I also don't really know that it's guaranteed that Max Crosby's going to have 10 sacks next year. I do think that they're both going to perform well, though, and I think Clelin Ferrell is going to have a much better and more consistent season. I could see him doing something like more of like a 6.5 sack type season where he really becomes a kind of galvanizing force on that defensive line. Think kind of more in the role of like what Justin Tuck was on that Giants defensive line. Strahan was the guy that really got after the quarterback and got the sacks, but Tuck could play all along the defensive line. He was a leader, and I think that's really what Mayock and Gruden see, and Gunther see in Clelin Ferrell, a guy that can be, just really a leader on that defensive line, and a guy that can perform well at whatever task he's asked at. So that's pretty much what I see. I see a full 16 game season from him, where he's going to probably up his sack total a couple, maybe not have a huge 2.5 sack game that bolsters up his numbers so much, spread it out a little bit more, but really be more effective in the pass rush as a whole. So I do think he's going to be much better. I don't think he's going to be a 10 sack guy this year. I don't really see him maybe being that ever. I see him, again, being more of just a steady starting defensive lineman that can just excel at any role and be a starting quality starter for years to come. Let's see what else. Yeah. Well, he's going to get some rest too, I think, because with Nassib coming in and some bolstering of the defensive line interior, I think that he's not going to be relied upon quite as much, although I do think he's going to see the field a lot. Kind of what I said, mirroring what I said with Max Crosby. I think that he is going to continue to elevate his game. I don't know if his sack totals are going to go up, but I think that, I believe he was invited to that pass rush, class or pass rush, thing that Von Miller does, although this year it was remote. So you can see him maybe, adding to his repertoire of pass rushing moves. But I think those two guys are going to continue their upward trajectory and become better players overall. And I think the numbers of sacks will go up a little bit. Max Crosby's might go down a little bit. Cleveland Farrell's going to go up a little bit, but they're not going to be scrubs next year for sure.
All right, let me go back up and look at some of the comments just to make sure we didn't miss anything. If y'all have any questions for us in the comments, please let us know. As of right now, we taking all questions in this last half hour of the show. Derek Larger says that I think maybe Mariota can be used in a way that Taysom Hill is for the Saints. Mariota isn't that athletic, but certainly can be in trick plays potentially. It's a possibility. I just know that Mariota, if you look at him when he played at Oregon, he was like, the zone read type of quarterback that can be mobile. But I'm just kind of nervous to put him in that situation knowing his injury statuses that he had when he played with Tennessee. But if you could put him in some trick plays at the goal line or some trick plays for a few plays, sure. Will he be a Taysom Hill? No, because I think he doesn't have the specimen and the size that Taysom Hill has. Taysom Hill can play a fullback, he can play a running back, he can play a tight end, and he can play quarterback. I don't think Mariota can play all four of those positions combined into one type of body. So, Eli, how you feel about this?
I kind of agree. I don't see Mariota being utilized in a Taysom Hill type role. Also, just because he's the backup quarterback, you're paying this guy a lot of money to lead this team and be the guy in case Derek Carr gets injured. Say what you want to say about who's better or if Carr is going to get benched in week 4, blah, blah, blah. Regardless, right now, as it stands, Marcus Mariota is there in case the travesty happens and Derek Carr gets injured, and he's going to be the starting quarterback. You don't want your starting quarterback, out there doing trick plays. I think as far as like Taysom Hill, I think that you're going to see potentially, Lynn Bowden perhaps being utilized in the red zone or in the, inside the 5-yard line with goal to go, maybe in some weird different wildcat type positions where he's going to have the chance to run some read option himself with, Jacobs in the backfield or whatnot. So I think that he might be a little bit more of your gadget play type Taysom Hill guy, and Mariota really just is your backup quarterback.
And just for the people that have not seen the Lynn Bowden video that I did that the Raiders was going to pick him, please go through my channel and go find that footage because I predicted that Lynn Bowden was going to be drafted by the Raiders and he ended up being drafted by the Raiders. So definitely go check out the video on this channel, which is the Spotlight Raiders Talk. Let's see. Hey, bro, just tuned in, busy spending money on the NFL shop. They got 20% off, but I got about 200 worth of merchandise. Jeez.
Did you get any of those weird gnomes? The Raiders gnomes? I have a Raiders gnome upstairs.
I'm about to say, they have those?
Oh, yeah. I got a Raiders gnome. I don't know what else I got that's Raiders. That's all upstairs in my little... I
got to get some stuff from NFL Shop. If they talking about 20% off, I take that because NFL Shop can be a little bit expensive. So we got a question here from another Derek Larger again. Henry Ruggs, offensive rookie of the year, is that realistic? I feel he could be in the best situation of a top three wide receivers drafted this year. Offensive minded coach, big play wide receiver. I like his odds.
I think that Derek Ruggs is going to have a really exciting and pleasing rookie year for fans and for the Raiders. I think that he's going to have some wow plays. I think that he's going to be productive. I don't think that he is going to be putting up numbers that are worthy of an offensive rookie of the year last year. Hell, I mean, Josh Jacobs pretty much did it and didn't win last year. I could see
Got robbed, by the
yeah,
way.
I could see, but don't get me wrong. I do think he's going to have a very successful year. Maybe he could have anywhere between 40 and 50 catches, a handful of touchdowns, some of them being really crazy, awesome, long touchdowns. He's going to have a couple of those plays. People are going to be really stoked that the Raiders picked him. But looking back, something tells me that the Cowboys are just going to feed the hell out of CeeDee Lamb, and everyone's going to be jacking him off, and everyone's going to love the Cowboys, and the Cowboys are going to make the playoffs, and he's going to be the big thing. And I could see that being the case. Or maybe the same thing to be said for Judy. But I for some reason, I see CeeDee Lamb, really taking a couple steps above Amari Cooper and being the guy by the end of the year in Dallas. And if Joe Burrow doesn't have a successful year and Tua doesn't have a successful year, I could see him out of those wide receivers being the guy that wins the rookie of the year. But I do think Henry Ruggs is going to have a good first season.
I agree. I agree. I know that we have some other offensive rookies out there that we have to look at as well. It's not guaranteed that he. I mean, you like the odds, yes, I do too. But you see what they did with Josh Jacobs last year. They robbed my guy convincingly. Who was thinking about Kyler Murray being offensive rookie of the year? Like, I think if we made the playoffs, Josh Jacobs still wouldn't have got that offensive rookie. It's just something against us Raiders that the NFL just don't like us to win anything.
I'm kind of
It's just my personal opinion.
I think if the Raiders had made the playoffs, I think Josh Jacobs probably would have actually won Rookie of the Year, because obviously the Cardinals didn't. So I think if the Raiders ended up making the playoffs, I think you see, if the Raiders ended up actually winning one of those games that they lost down the stretch, not the Broncos games, but he was injured a little bit too and banged up. But I think that if the Raiders make the playoffs, and especially if the Raiders make the playoffs and they make some noise in the playoffs last year, I could see them maybe voting for him. But hey, last year's the past. I don't really care about personal awards as much as I really care about the team getting back to the postseason.
Absolutely. Is the eye calling in the Las Vegas Raiders now? I still catch myself saying Oakland all the time. Yeah, sometimes. I still see myself saying Oakland sometimes, but I do catch myself. I got some clothes, hats, and Raiders mugs. That's dope, man. That's dope. Bowden will surprise a lot of people and gain a good chunk of yards racked up. Watch. I can see he's going to be a type of guy that's going to be a yards after the catch type of guy out the backfield. He's not going to go down on one tackle. He's going to miss a few and get a few yards. That's just how I see it for Lynn Bowden.
I mean, honestly, Bowden is a guy that I do agree kind of has the potential to be a dark horse, to be the best Raiders offensive rookie next year. I mean, again, Ruggs can still have a pretty good year, and Bowden really being a guy that opens up some eyes. Think of like a Cameron Drake, or when the Saints, utilize their two-back offense. Bowden is a guy where everybody kind of thinks, oh, he's this trick play guy. Yeah, he's learning to be a running back in the NFL, but his patience and his vision from, running from behind the line of scrimmage, I mean, the guy can make people miss. He's got wiggle. He's got some power for his frame. I think that it's potential that he really makes some noise, and he could be a guy that really establishes himself as the second running back on this team and runs for like 500-600 yards. And we can have a backfield very much like 2016, where Jacobs was the bell cow, runs for 1,000 yards. But then you also have Richard and a second back that are really kind of splitting hairs. And you have, a really good trio of running backs for Derek Carr.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be a lot of people touching the ball this year for the Raider offense. I'm so glad we weren't pounding Jacobs into the ground this time. That was crazy. Yeah, that was crazy. Melvin Barlow says, with Ruggs drawing safeties deep, how good of a season could guys like Waller and Renfro have, along with Jacobs not having to face a 8-man front? That's a good question. Now you have to think about it too. It's going to open it up. Like, knowing if Ruggs go deep, is going to open it up for Tyrell Williams when he's healthy. Edwards when he's healthy, because mind you, he came off an injury he's coming off an injury as a rookie. Hunter Renfro is always going to be third in Renfro. Let's just keep it there. He got that name for a reason. He's going to be third in Renfro. But yeah, I think Ruggs could definitely take the top off of defense and help out these other receivers to get open. It won't be a lot of 8-man in the box. The only way it'd be 8-man in the box is we just keep pounding it first, second, third, and don't throw the ball at all. But we're going to need to mix it up, mix and match a little bit. To throw the defense off. A lot of play action would be good, especially if Jacobs is averaging like 5 yards a carry. We definitely got to go into some play action there. You just got to go with the strategy and what's working at the end of the day. What you think, Eli?
Yeah, I mean, this offensive line playing to its ability and staying healthy and allowing Josh Jacobs to really kind of, establish a line of scrimmage for him. And he was so great last year after, contact. And if he can mirror what he did last year, not even improve, if he can just mirror what he did last year, I think he's actually going to probably get per game, his touches will probably go down even as they try to incorporate Bowden into the offense a little bit more. But yeah, I mean, long story short, I think guys like Renfro and Waller, where they may be, more effective or, because of Ruggs. I think that, Ruggs on the outside and some of these other guys on the outside that they got, they're going to just get more passes as well. So I think that it's going to help the overall offense having Ruggs on the team and on the field for sure.
Okay, here we go. I was like, what's going on here? Let's go back into the comments. Derek Larger said he's a Colts fan. Yes, I do know Derek Larger. He is part of the Fan to Fan Network. The Fan to Fan Network is something that we are working on together as a team. Me and Derek Larger, and some other sports analysts that cover all NFL 32 teams. I'll be representing the Las Vegas Raiders on the Fan to Fan Network. Is the voice that sports fans actually deserve. So it's definitely a good thing. Make sure y'all look in the description and follow the Fan to Fan Network on Twitch, because that's where we're going to be doing most of our streams at. Definitely our kickoff party is going to be there. Y'all don't want to miss it. Definitely go look in the description. Go to Twitch, FTFN. Go to Instagram, Fan to Fan Network, and make sure y'all follow us there. Let's go to some other ones, other questions. All right, so he said, where do you guys could offer the biggest upset on this season, Broncos or Chargers? I don't think either of them are considered upset wins. I think it's going to be more competitive. I don't see it being upsetting wins because I think every team in the division upgraded. Nobody downgraded in this division at all. So I think it's going to be a competitive division. But I think we could beat the Chargers more than we could beat the Broncos. And just because of I'm kind of nervous of that young wide receiver core of, with Jared Jeudy and Cortland Sutton, like they're some good wide receivers that I personally like, that I had Cortland Sutton in my fantasy last year. No offense, I don't like the Donkeys at all, but it was just a fantasy football thing. But at the end of the day, I think we could beat the Chargers, and we might split with the Broncos. I think we might split with the Chargers too, just because of their defense. Offensively, I don't know what was happening. No Melvin Gordon, Keenan Allen's over there. We don't know what Mike Williams can stay healthy over there. But I like the Chargers better, in my opinion.
Yeah, I gotta agree. I think that when it comes to the conference, the Chiefs are the cream of the crop, and then the other three teams, or I'm sorry, the division, the other three teams are all got better and are a little bit more evenly matched. But like Darren said, I agree that I think the Broncos scare me just a little bit more, and that's not just because the Raiders split with them last year, but they are going to present a challenge with Drew Lock improving at quarterback, and we'll see what happens though with Herbert, if he becomes the guy, or if Tyrod Taylor can take the next step in his development as a starting quarterback and make that team a better team, because Philip Rivers is just trash right now. I really hope he just throws his arm off in Indianapolis. I apologize, Derek. I know that you're a Colts fan, but that guy stinks. He's got to get out of here.
That's why the Colts only signed him for 1 year. They didn't give him a multi-year contract. He might be just one and done in Indianapolis if he doesn't show up. So, he said, is it just me, or does it seem that your linebacker position has the biggest improvement this offseason? If not, can't deny that they added some quality depth pieces. Now, we talked about that, knowing about the whole Nick Kowalski thing, and now we got Corey Littleton, and then Tanner Muse is going to be a project at the linebacker position. But I think, it's very under the radar that how we added, linebacker depth at that position. I think it was very underrated. How you feel about that, Eli?
Yeah, I mean, I think a few weeks ago we were talking about an article where the Raiders linebacking core was one of the top 10 most improved position groups or something like that. I forget exactly what it was, but I mean, people are starting to recognize that. And yes, I mean, it's not just you, and you are correct. They have 100% improved on the back end total, but especially at linebacker. And I think with this draft class and with guys like Demarius Randall, I think that the Raiders have improved their back seven maybe better than anybody else in the league this offseason as a whole. I'm sure there are more dynamic players that are difference makers that have gotten on other teams. But across the board, from what they were, I think that they've improved the back seven maybe better than anybody else in the NFL.
All right, make sure y'all go subscribe to our channel, which is the Spotlight Raiders Talk. Make sure you subscribe to our Instagram, Spotlight Raiders Talk, and follow us on Twitter at Spotlight RN Talk. Juan has a question that says, is there a way that teams can take advantage of how IR works? Can they put a player on IR who isn't hurt? I don't know if they could put a person on IR if they isn't hurt. What you think? I don't think that's true. I don't know if that's true.
I have to be honest. I don't know that. For some reason, I think that I've heard of instances where in hockey where like somebody's been put on IR, but I do think that there was I don't think you can circumvent the cap or circumvent the injured reserve if somebody's not injured. But again, I don't know that off the top of my head. That might be something that we might have to research, because I don't know.
Yeah, I'll have to research that as well. Derek Larger says, I'm just a football fan. Show other football fans getting involved, creating conversations. Appreciate that. Broncos. Because they have Judy, they better not beat us. Robinson and Miller will lock Judy down, and Abro might kill him.
That would be sick. That would be sick.
That's funny. Shots taken. Robert Kilpatrick said, do you think Tanner Muse will be getting a lot of playing time this season? I do. I have watched some videos. The man, that guy is a beast. I don't see him getting a lot of playing time. Just God forbid if something happened to our linebacking core that he's forced to play. But I don't see him playing at all this season. I see him on special teams, like for kick returns, kickoff, punt return, or punt. I see that, but I think he'll see the field, but I think he won't see the field as much.
Yeah, especially since the Raiders and their base defense really only play two linebackers anyway. I don't see Taylor Muse being more than a rotational, guy spelling Kwiatkowski and or Littleton for certain parts of the season. Don't forget, like, Markel Lee knows the defense. He is a backup linebacker. He's certainly not a starter. Although, when we go three linebacker, he'll probably be the guy that ends up starting him or Compton. I'm sorry, not Compton. Morrow. So no, I don't see him being a starter. I don't see him playing a lot outside of special teams, unless there's an injury, and hopefully that's not the case because, again, the Raiders' other linebackers aren't that good.
Okay, so when we play the Chiefs, do we stick Littleton on Kelsey 101 versus 101 all day? Um, it could be 101, but we don't want to wear out Littleton. Kowalski is kind of a good cover corner. I mean, a cover linebacker as well. But I wouldn't put Littleton on him all night. Just the fact that we all might just wear him out during the game, and he's going to get fatigued. But you got to have like all different types of defensive schemes to try to slow down Kelsey as much as you can. And mind you, he's one of the arguably probably the best tight end in the league, arguably. So I mean, it's nothing against my Raiders. I'm just saying, like, just as as a sports analyst, outside of being a Raiders fan, Travis Kelce's up there. It's going to be hard to stop him no matter who you put on him. But I think Corey Littleton did the job, but I think we need to mix and match. What you think, Eli?
I do think Corey Littleton's going to help our inability to cover tight ends for sure. That's all the way that Gunther's going to go ahead and put his defense. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of times where Littleton is, playing a more of a zone, and they're going to be doing more zone, in the middle of the field. So, long story short, I don't think it's going to be all day. He's going to be a factor and a focal point in trying to stop Jason Kelce, though. Jason Kelce. I hate him, by the way. So, what are you going to do? I met his brother actually at a bar here in Philadelphia. Very nice guy. I told him that I didn't like his brother very much, and he laughed. So, yeah, he gets the joke.
All right, so I would just say I really can't wait to play y'all this season. Great revenge game for my coach this year. Better have me on the pod so we could talk about that matchup. I am low-key nervous for that game. Absolutely, Derek. Absolutely. If you want to come on here, listen, we could do a 2-on-2. It could be me and Eli versus you and another Colts analyst. That is fine. I got a 4-box screen here. We're ready to talk about that matchup. I am ready for it. Definitely hit me up on Instagram. We could definitely talk about it. Even the week before the game, we could do that. Eli, you down with that?
Yeah, I'm down with that. I mean, that game's going to be great because it's going to really be, coming down to the wire for both teams fighting what really should expect to be both, their playoff lives at that point. I don't really know exactly who's favored in that division right now, but it looks like it's the Colts and the Colts and the Texans are kind of fighting with the Tennessee to really kind of be the second team, very much like the Raiders are kind of fighting with, the other two teams to be the second team to the Chiefs. So, we're probably going to be fighting for one of the last playoff spots towards the end of the year. So it's going to be a good game for sure.
It's going to be an awesome game. I can't wait for it. Rivers will fold. Don't worry. Is the Colts O-line good? Yes, I think the Colts O-line has very upgraded, mind you, you got to think about it. Andrew Luck, before he retired, he had the comeback player of the year, and he barely got sacked that year. So they did upgrade the offensive line. The question is, can our defensive line get to him, knowing that he does have a better offensive line in Indianapolis than he did in LA? It's honestly what it is. He didn't have a good offensive line with the LA Chargers. He didn't. That's why he was so pissed off at everything that went on with the offensive line, because we got to him so many times on Thursday Night Football. I remember streaming that game. I streamed live play-by-play and reactions. It was so many sacks that we got on him. Phillip Rivers, once you get him under pressure, he's going to start to complain. That's one thing about Phillip Rivers. Toughest game for you guys this season. I know the Chiefs a couple times, but anyone outside of that. I don't know if you've been watching the show, Derek, but Drew Brees, Tom Brady.
That's going to be tough. They got a couple tough games. I think that Saints game is going to be really tough. Kind of coming off this weird off season. I definitely agree that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to be a much better team this year than they were last year with Brady and Gronk and all the hoopla. But I think that Saints game is going to be really difficult.
That's going to be awesome. I can't wait, man. I cannot wait to play these guys. I can't. It's going to be so much fun to play against the Colts. All these teams like Drew Brees, and hopefully we can definitely get this up and running. Saints home opener or Tampa. I want to go with the home opener. I think the home opener of our new stadium. That's going to be epic. It's going to be really epic. Travis, thanks guys. See y'all next time. Thank you, Melvin Barlow. Thank you so much, man. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Turn the notification bell on because we will be having videos uploaded as well. Our defense will be 3v3. And Derek Waller said our Colts O-line was ranked 3rd last year. They're definitely elite. I would say the same for the Raiders in a lot of ways. It's going to be two good offensive lines, 2 good defensive lines, because, they did get DeForest Buckner in a trade with the San Francisco 49ers. So it's going to be good offenses versus good defensive lines. This is going to be awesome. Hey, JDTV, what's going on, man? What's going on? Do you have any questions about any Raiders questions before we head out? Because we are definitely at the 2-hour mark. Raider Nation, what is your record this year? We already answered this question a few times. We said 9-7 or 10-6.
9-7, 10-6. I think that's what we're doing this year.
Yeah, that's the most realistic one that we have. Melvin Barlow said last. What's your starting nickel D-back?
I mean, honestly, I think that Joyner's going to be the guy that starts off the season, no matter who we all want to be or think's going to be. I mean, we don't really know how good Amir Robertson's going to be. We don't even know if Amir Robertson's going to be a great slot corner. He played outside his entire college career. Maybe Arnett is a much better slot corner than he is on the outside in the pros. All I know is that right now, Joyner can't be any worse than he was last year. I'm going to go on record in saying that he can't be any worse than he was last year. He's going to start the season at the slot corner. We'll see where he progresses from there and how our young cornerbacks play. If they play well, maybe you see him shifting over to safety and somebody popping in there and playing some snaps. But when we kick off week 1 or week 4 or whatever it is when the NFL season starts, Lamarcus Joyner is going to be your starting nickel.
Absolutely. I think I agree with you, Eli. I agree with you there. I feel like Derek Carr is very undervalued by a lot of people. Where do you guys view him as the most among top quarterbacks? I think he is kind of undervalued in some instance, but you got to think about the weapons that he had last year and what he was able to do. A lot of quarterbacks couldn't be able to do what he did with the wide receivers that he had last year. And I'm just going to be 100% honest. If I want to say, I think Derek Carr could be a top 20 quarterback in his league. Top 15 is kind of pushing it for me. But I think top 20 is more realistic. He's a top 20 quarterback in the NFL. I just think that now he has the weapons. He has the offensive line. The defense got to help him out as well because Derek Carr can't do it on his own. This is a 3-phase type of football game. Special teams, offense, defense. Less time defense is on the field. That means we got to, bring up that time of possession. A lot of things go into it, but I think Derek Carr could be a top 20 quarterback. Probably is a top stats wise, he's a top 20 quarterback. But can I think he could be higher than that going into this year? I predict so. I think he could be higher than top 20.
Listen, I've said this a bunch, and nothing is really kind of annoyed me more, except for COVID-19 over the last, few months, than this polarizing view of Derek Carr as either you think that he is completely awful or you are just this idiot that thinks he's the greatest quarterback ever. And as Darian said, that's not the case. The guy is not one of the best quarterbacks in the league, but I do think he can lead the Raiders to a lot of wins. If he plays within the system, he makes his throws, the play calling, they execute better and there's better play calling inside the 20, they will score more points. Derek Carr doesn't automatically need to start chucking the ball down the field to make him a better quarterback and make the Raiders offense better. They just need to make better decisions inside the 20, and this offense is going to be fine. As far as Derek Carr, though, back to him, he is a middle of the road talent quarterback that has not shown that he can win when he's really, needs to win football games. He's shown that he can come back in the fourth quarter, but, he didn't do it when it really, he really needed to against Jacksonville, and he didn't do it really at the end of the day when he needed to against Denver. So he's a fine quarterback. He can win in the NFL. I think he can be a winning quarterback for the Raiders if everything goes well, but he's not going to be a kind of guy like Russell Wilson where he's going to win games for you. I think that's right now where the Raiders are at. That's fine. You don't need a quarterback like that. Look at the Titans last year. They didn't have a game-wrecking number one quarterback, and they almost went to the Super Bowl before they lost to a team that is not only great, but they also have a game-winning type quarterback. So not every team has a Russell Wilson. Not every team has a Patrick Mahomes. The Raiders don't have one of those. They don't even have a top 10 quarterback. But the Raiders, if everything clicks, the Raiders could win 12 games this year. They could also win 6 if everything doesn't. But, it's all about building a great team and then getting lucky and getting your quarterback at the end. That's how great teams are made. That's how great franchises win a lot of Super Bowls in a 10-year span. But yeah, long story short, he's fine. Derek Carr is fine for the Raiders in 2020.
Absolutely. So, Darren Waller says, good to hear from you guys. Thanks for the talk. Looking forward to more live streams. Thank you, Derek. Can't wait to see you on Thursday for the FTFN Network meeting. I can't wait to see you for that. Shout out to everybody that's actually in the chat. President Trill, Melvin Barlow, JDTV, Derek Larger, Raider for Life, King Savage, Watts Raider, SMIG, J-Dog 209. I just want to make sure I don't miss anybody. Juan, King Savage, Robert Kilpatrick, Gangrene David, Malguli, Son Joku, thank you for the $5. Really do appreciate that. Marcus 85, Anthony, Jeffrey Locke Jr. And thank y'all so much for tuning in. Any last words, man, before we head out of here?
Hey, it's great to be back. Listen, everybody, I feel like we just continuously have to say this. Stay safe out there. Be an ally when you can. Stand up for your friends and your brothers. Black Lives Matter, and go Raiders.
Exactly. Black Lives Matter. Make sure y'all stay safe with the COVID-19, knowing that it is warm outside. People want to get out and do things and not want to be in the house when it's, when the sun goes down and stuff. But make sure y'all mask up. Make sure y'all put on a mask. That is very, very important, y'all. That's very important. And I want to thank everyone for tuning in. It's going to be awesome. Y'all going to see the new music. I don't know if you heard it, but I put the new music with our intro. And I got to, put the FTFN intro on there to let y'all know about that. But thank y'all for tuning in. We will see y'all next week. Probably not this weekend because it's 4th of July weekend. Correct? You probably busy, right?
Yeah, I mean, I got some stuff going on, but listen, we will hook up probably
Monday. You want to do Monday?
Yes, let's do it.
Okay, Monday. Absolutely.
Monday?
Yes, y'all better be ready for Monday because we're gonna have a nice show for y'all. I have a special guest coming on. Our special guest couldn't make it today, but he will be on Monday. Thank y'all for tuning in. It is the Spotlight Raider Talk, and I will see y'all in the next live stream, y'all. Just win, baby.
Peace.
I'm Darian of the Spotlight Raiders Talk, and you're watching Fan to Fan Network, the voice that sports fans deserve. Just win, baby.